इनके में दे दीजिए.
तीन में
Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, not every day do we discuss and debate constitutional amendment bills in this House, and therefore I think it is very important that this bill, as being discussed, gets its due consideration. This has been going on for many years, and I think practically all the states, all political parties in some form or the other have been associated with the stage at which this bill has come to be. And unfortunately, in the last few years, at least ever since the change of government, it has more or less appeared to be a bilateral issue between the Congress and the BJP, where the others have virtually been taken for granted that we are for the passage of the bill, at least in our case, the NCP. We have been progressive. We are not going to come in the way of any progressive legislation, but nonetheless, the discussion have mainly focused between the two sides. But notwithstanding that, I am happy that it has come to a stage where we are now discussing it in Parliament. And I am sure, going by the tone and tenor of most political parties, this is going to be a reality very soon. Sir, the issue are many. The manufacturing states, especially even the state which I come from, Maharashtra, have been of the few states which have always had a contrary line. And rightly so, because states like Maharashtra, Gujarat, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu also, where they have been getting more revenues than the other states, had these apprehensions whether our revenues will be protected or not. And that has fortunately been addressed. And to the other side also, it would be very fair to say that the states which were earning lesser revenues are going to be compensated. In fact, they are going to be better off than what they are today. And in a federal structure and in a country as large as India, and where most of us express our concerns over backwardness, poverty, and other issues, I think it is also fair that we address the issues of the poorer states, the states which need to have more revenues and for the betterment of the people. And I think it is in that spirit that even states like Maharashtra and other progressive states have fallen in line and agreed to come and support this bill. I think the most important part, of course, that 1% was a contentious issue. I remember, because my party's finance minister was representing Maharashtra in the GST negotiations when the State Empowered Committee used to be constituted. And we remember that Maharashtra had its unique concerns. Other states, even like Gujarat, for that matter, the Prime Minister was then the Chief Minister, some people did mention. But rising above that, I think in the larger interest, a progressive legislation was necessary. For far too long, we've had many different tax structures in our country, right, starting from the octroi to the municipalities to local taxes and then going on to the state taxes, different structures. We all remember we used to have C forms being issued for interstate transactions. We do remember there were many avenues of pilferages, and that led to loss of revenue to the exchequer. And therefore, the kind of structure under which businesses were conducted in India were certainly needing a major reform. And the GST is a step in that direction, rightly so. And I think it needs to be taken to its logical conclusion. But however, the compliance also of this act also is going to be very challenging. The transition from the current model to moving to a GST model is going to be certainly challenging, both at the central level and the state level. And in many people who have voiced their concerns about the pressures, especially the inflationary pressures, because India constitutes 57% of our GDP constitutes services. And I think the first impact of the GST, and especially the higher rate, is going to be felt on services. And that is a large portion of which is being consumed by most people of the country. And services sector, if it is going to be under pressure, the only first advantage will accrue to the manufacturing sector. But to the services sector, it is going to be certainly a big pressure. And I think it will be a tightrope walk for you as finance minister to be able to steer the economy, keeping the inflationary pressures away. And I think you need to keep that especially in mind. And the revenue neutral rate, which Mr. Chidambaram also mentioned, I think it is something which needs to be looked at, especially in the context of the services sector. Because the revenue neutral rate is going to affect the economy in a big way. And I share the concerns of most of the colleagues who have spoken here that the principle of equity will be disturbed if we do not keep the R&R in mind and work adequately to resolving those issues which have been highlighted here. Sir, I'll give you an example, sir, of, say, in Maharashtra. I mean, Sharad Yadavji mentioned about local bodies. Sir, in Maharashtra, we have a local body called the Mumbai Municipal Corporation. The revenue of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, by way of octroi alone, is more than the revenues of most states of this country. Only the octroi collection is more than the revenue of many major states in this country. And therefore, if we are talking of the tune of more than 8 to 9,000 crores annually, and if that 8 to 9,000 crores has to be given by way of devolution to the states, and that in turn the state has to pass it on to the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, if the monies are not paid in time, what would be the state of affairs? How would you manage the civic affairs and the financials of a big city like Mumbai? I'm saying it from my own small experience, sir. I started my political career as the president of the Municipal Council of Gondia. And I remember that small town of 1.5 lakh people, that town used to depend heavily, obviously, on state support for various schemes of the municipality. And the monies which were due this year would come the third year or the fourth year down the line. If that be the situation, how would we be able to manage the civic affairs of a large city like Mumbai and many other cities? Why only Mumbai? Tomorrow it could be Bangalore, it could be Chennai, it could be any other city which requires large funds to be given by the state to its own civic authorities. So I think please keep that in mind. It is something which needs a lot more, I think, monitoring. Though you will say, I have passed on the money, given the money to the state. But the state in turn, there is a state within a state. That also needs to be adequately addressed. So, sir, I will keep limited to a few points like this. I agree with most members when they say that, as I said earlier, this is a constitution amendment bill. Rarely do such bills come to the House. But this has ramifications far beyond just amending the constitution. Even the implementation of this bill is going to be a serious challenge, which requires the wisdom and the participation of all sections of this House and all sections of polity inside and outside the House. And therefore, as and when you do come with your amended version of the bill for passage in due course, I think that also needs the wisdom of the collective wisdom of this House, and I would urge you to please bring it as a finance bill and not as a money bill, so that we also, as the members of the Rajya Sabha and all political parties put together, can participate meaningfully. And we assure you, there is no question. I don't think, going by the mood of the House, there is any reason for the government to feel that any section of this House is mistrusting the intentions of the government. And I think certainly this side has no right, including myself. We were part of the government which for 10 years continuously worked to make sure that the GST becomes a reality. And therefore, there is no reason why today, and I'm sure there would be a lot of pressure even on this side if tomorrow unmeaningfully or wrongfully, if there is an attempt to derail the process of making the GST a reality. Good. I think all of us should work collectively. This has to rise above all other considerations and make sure that the GST becomes a reality. And I would say that these are new challenges. This is a new environment. The world, we never realized, I think somebody mentioned that GST, in the good old days, goods were only what people really looked at. Today, services, and tomorrow, what services we talk of today are going to change in a very radical way. Today, half the work which we do is through our mobile phones and our small little handheld tablets. I think commerce, e-commerce, the changing environment requires reformist and progressive measures, and I think GST is a step, maybe a small step, but a meaningful step in that direction. I urge all sections of the House, but I also urge the government, please carry us along, take us along as partners in progress, and please discuss in this House before you take the final steps. Thank you, sir.